We're back in front of the WF Wells bandsaw. Now, I kind of caved. I said I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't paint it, but I started thinking about, cleaning it up, and I said, well, if I'm gonna spend a lot of time cleaning up all this crud, I might as well put a little extra time into it and just sand it all down and paint it while I'm at it. So I've taken the two covers off, the cover off this side, the cover off down here, and I've got the little coolant, the main tray, I guess you'd call it. It's the big, like, gallon and a half thing. And I went ahead and I found a hole in the bottom of the small tray here. This is the main tray, and it's designed for all the coolant to run down in this main tray, and then it runs down, drips off the end into this little small tray here that the pump sits in. Well, the pump is aluminum, and I think there was a reaction with the steel. It sat in there for so many years and probably wasn't moved that the aluminum reacts with steel, and it made a hole. It rusted a hole right through. I got out the solder, and I got out some solder paste and heated up, and I soldered that hole shut. It was a huge hole. It was probably almost wasn't quite a quarter, but it was getting there. And I brought it upstairs in the upstairs shop, and I've got a coat of paint on it. And what I'm going to do is update you from probably from more than day to day, more like week to week. And I'm going away for 3-4 days. It's going to end up being a 5-day trip, because the 5th day is just driving back here. So in 5 days, that'll be Sunday, and I'll be probably exhausted after that trip. So might be over a week, might be 2 weeks before I do the next segment. I'm going to pull these two wheels off. I've already had them off. I've greased them. I've ran the machine last night for a good hour. Let the grease work into that. I'm gonna pull these jaws off. I'm not gonna pull the electrical box off. But, don't hold me for that, because I may end up caving and doing that too. I'm definitely taking the wheels off. I'm probably gonna flip this thing upside down, and just 2 bolts to take off the pivot point where this thing raises to cut. Let's see, and I've already decided I'm going to take the hydraulic cylinder off the other side, and there's just this little knob. I got to pull that off. It's got a set screw, and then there's one nut here, and that whole control comes off. A couple of bolts, and I undo the little retainers for the hoses, and I'll pull those right out. And yeah, when next time you see this, it may be in the process of being painted, or it might be, all in pieces and painted. I don't know. I can't tell you because I'm not there yet. But upstairs, I'll show you what I got. So there you have it. I got 3 pieces. Tank for the coolant. Well, it's like a tank. It's really a tray. And then the 2 wheel covers. And then here's the paint I bought. Rust Coat Beauty Tone from Home Hardware. They have a scanner there. Most places have that kind of equipment now. And they scanned in the inside of these covers. And the guy was kind of reluctant to mix the paint for me. He stalled me for a while. We looked at the samples. Nothing was quite as close as the original paint color. So he took a scan, and he kept telling me that sometimes it doesn't quite come out the way you expect. Because if there's a speck of dirt, or if there's a bit of something shining off that. Anyway, anything can affect it, and what it does is mixes all those colors together and makes a color of its. It's not going to be an exact match, but I think it's really, really close. And I put the paint on there, and I wasn't even going to pull the camera out and video any of this, but I was pretty excited about the results. That's a pretty close match to me. There, as you can see, the little bump on the tank over here. I'm starting to call it a tank. That's where I soldered from the inside. A little blob of solder came through. So that's watertight now. Shouldn't leak. And there you go. I'm the kind of guy that if a manufacturer puts a paint color on something, I really strongly believe you should just keep it that color. I don't have a problem with changing colors. Just if you can at all, I like to keep them original. So, but isn't this amazing? This is made out of probably zinc. I don't know what it's made out of. I don't think they could chrome plastic at that time. So when you see plastic corporate logos like this that are chromed, they're made in probably the 80s, late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s. I don't know. The technology wasn't around to chrome plastic at this time in 1970. So what I might do, I might add a little piece tomorrow, give it my second coat. I'm going to try and get that hydraulic cylinder off today and clean it up, and then tomorrow when I do the second coat on those first three pieces, I'll do a first coat on the cylinder. I went ahead and I pulled a hydraulic cylinder off that you're raising lower, the control. It was so covered in grungy grease and probably coolant, and I don't know what else, but it took a little more time to clean the grease off than it did to wire brush. I just wire brushed all the paint off with just a simple little wooden wire brush. So I'll give that a paint job, and there's one shield off the belt cover. I'm going to try and clean that up, sand it, paint all that tonight, and then tomorrow we'll give it all a second coat. There's the cylinder after one coat of paint. The belt cover, paint's still a little tacky. And the two covers. This one with the two holes is where the logo goes back on. And the tray tank for the coolant. And there's the little solder. I can't turn it over, it's just a little bit too tacky. So this didn't turn out so nice. I dripped something on it and something reacted with it, but I'll wait for this to dry a little bit more. It's still just a little bit tacky. This one turned out nice. Okay, so I spent a couple hours scrubbing with every cleaning product I could find. I used Scotch Brite water, Mr. Clean, Comet. I used paint thinner, lacquer thinner. Lacquer thinner is a little too harsh. Anyway, I got it cleaned up. You know, I've never cleaned anything so dirty in a very long time. It's, coolant just leaves this layer of scum everywhere. I don't know what it is, but it's not easy to get off. But it came out pretty clean. There was a lot of rust. A lot of paint had flaked off. 47-year-old paint. I was saying it was 45-year-old. Saw the other day. It's not. It's 47. 1970. Easy to do the math. So I painted the one side here. It turned out a little rough. It needs to dry some more. It's still tacky. If I leave my fingers on there, I'm going to leave finger marks in the paint. But I'll leave it for a couple of days. I'm going to go away for a few days, but I'm going to flip it over, do the other side, and I think the final coat, I'll go over it with some 220 or some 320 fine sandpaper. Just scuff it up a little bit, try and smooth it out, and give it a final coat. And it should turn out all right. It looks a lot better already. See, in here, I haven't painted anything yet. That's the original paint. Over here, I've got the two wheel covers, the coolant pan, tray, belt cover. Here's the hydraulic cylinder. I had it completely down to bare metal with a little wooden handled wire brush the other day. I think I mentioned that already. There's the aluminum plate to mount the electric motor, and the two hinges for the covers. I didn't think I'd go this far, but if you're going to put in a little bit of effort. There was no paint at all on the backs of these hinges. It kind of all flaked off and fell off. Originally everything on this machine was painted and then assembled afterwards. So I'm really impressed with the techniques. In 1970 they actually cared about. You buy anything today, it's assembled and painted. So if it's used in a harsh environment, rust everywhere eventually. And I went over the logo too. There's not a letter missing on here. There's not a dent, not a scratch on it. It's just beautiful chrome. Can't get in that close, but they don't make things like that anymore. I think that's made out of, I think I mentioned it already, but look at how shiny that is. I don't know what it is. It could be zinc. It could be something. So next segment, I'll start. I got the base to paint yet, and it needs the most work of all. I'm gonna have to give it a couple of coats of primer. There's no paint at all on the bottom, and it's all rust. So I haven't had time today to do that, but I'll give it a week and I'll get going at that. So things are coming along. We're gonna see it improved, an improved version of the old W.F. Wells and Sons Incorporated bandsaw. It's an A-7. Thanks for watching. Here's the only bearing that I see that's like kind of iffy. It's not feeling. I had it clamped in the vise right here like this, and every time I walk by it for the last day and a half, so I'd spin it a little bit, but I was able to drill and put grease in both sides. I think there are 2 bearings in that. Doesn't seem very thick, but there very well could be. So I drilled on this side too. I managed to get the bit in on an angle. Injected a bit of grease. Look at this. Where does it say that? It's on the other side. Browning, Mainsville, Kentucky. 3-spoke little pulley. There's a lot of load on this pulley because it is the final drive before it goes to the main wheel. This drives the ring gear on the main wheel that drives the blade. So if I have to, I'll have to try and press those bearings out and put some new ones in. But as long as I can access this one here when it's mounted on the machine. The one on the back here, I'm not sure if I can get in there. I don't think I can. There's a cover. Anyway, if I do, I have to. So I'm gonna run it like it is, and we'll see. Okay, well this one, can you hear that? There is no retainer clip. There's no C-clip, no cotter pin, no. I think that's just pressed in. And I was wondering what this little bar was for here, but now I know. You loosen this bolt, you tighten that pivots off this bolt here and tightens your belt. So that bearing's in really good shape. It's just spinning like butter. It's the only one that is really nice, but I'm still tempted to drill a hole and pump a bunch of grease in there, because once this is on the machine I can't get at it. So something to think about. Little coolant pump, and there's the corrosion from the reaction to the steel pan it was sitting on, made a hole through, which I soldered shut. And what's it say here? Little Giant, if it'll focus. Come on, baby. Little Giant Pump Company, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It doesn't say made in China anywhere. Interesting. And I plugged it in through a pail of water, and I plugged it in and squirted water all over me. So it's got lots of pressure. It's working fine. The screen is still in my toolbox. You think that's 1970? Could be.